opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered, this is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing. Prove me wrong, I'll wait.
Oh, we just went live to all of us. Yeah, we're three wide.
We were ready, man.
Ah.
You guys were here an hour early, and this is what I get?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we won't do that again. All right.
No.
Good to know. Good to know. See you boys later. Hey, gang. Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine. Hope you're well. It is Wednesday, July 15th, 2026. I got my order. JT's got me all screwed up. I asked these guys to do a handful of simple things, and apparently it's just too much. But I digress. I hope you're doing well out there. Wild times in the sport of drag racing. It seems like the world is burning in many ways. But I'll tell you what, man, and we will get into this a little deeper. I tell you what, I think there are very, very, very good times ahead of us. I still argue, no matter what, that I believe without a shadow of a doubt that we are living in the greatest time ever in the history of drag racing. And I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity on the horizon. But we got a packed show for you guys today. We're going to be joined in just a little bit by the newest addition to the PDRA team, the one and only Mark Beatty, a longtime friend of ours here at Drag Illustrated. And then we will check in with Chase Womack, fresh off a huge win, a $75,000 win at the Freedom of War No Prep that just went down a couple of weeks ago at Abilene, West Texas Abilene Raceway in Abilene, Texas. Really exciting times in the no prep world right now. I think it was it felt like no prep was kind of fading, or maybe it wasn't going to be what it once was, but all of a sudden there's a newfound energy in it, man. And I cannot wait to see what comes next. Clint Stroke in the comments already. Stroke, absolutely. No doubt about it. Barn burner today, baby. We got, man, it's the topic of conversation. There's so much, it's absolutely unavoidable. So of course we're going to have to dive into it here. I fancy myself, and I believe that Drag Illustrated as a whole, what we hold ourselves to is being a beacon of hope and optimism. Not that we're a church, not that we're a ministry, but oftentimes I do see our sport as something of our congregation, our shared congregation. And I believe that these things have to be talked about. We don't like to, we don't deal in tabloid stuff. We do not deal in scandal sheets. You'll notice that dragillustrated.com rarely, if ever, publishes a negatively toned story. I'll tell you guys, just as a matter of fact, that I want people to know just how seriously we take our responsibility as ambassadors of the sport of drag racing. You can scour Drag Illustrated magazine, all 200 issues. You can look through 150,000 plus articles that have been published on dragillustrated.com. And I think you will see a consistent theme, and that's us trying to paint the sport in the best positive way. We try to shine a positive light on everything that we do. We avoid at all, as much as we possibly can, posting photos of tracks that don't have tons of people in the stands, right? I mean, we will task our photographers with making the race look as good as it possibly can. If we see that, oh man, maybe this thing is a little bit under attended, or the grandstands don't look fantastic, we challenge our track photographers, our track videographers, our writers, find other stories. Don't make it about that. Don't point the camera that direction. Don't pan down the track. We try so hard to be great ambassadors of this sport, and it has kept us in many ways over the course of the last several weeks and months, and honestly a couple of years, from diving into some of the icky things that go on in our sport, because I just don't think it serves anybody. But I do think it's perhaps time to start looking forward. I don't know that there's a tremendous amount of time that needs to be spent on what went wrong or what went awry, but it's certainly something that has to be talked about. But before I dive into all of this, I want to welcome my co-hosts. We're here a minute ago, gone now, but they're back. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, Mike Carpenter, JT Hudson. What's up, boys?
What's up?
Well, now that we've got that out the way, let's talk about, did anything interesting happen in drag racing since our last show, which was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man.
Just a couple things.
I mean, I guess for clarification, right? And I think that these things are important to do because we sometimes go into these shows thinking that everybody knows everything we're talking about, right? I mean, we're really ingrained in this deal, and we're on the phone with people all day, every day, and we know a lot of the inner workings. But I think it's important to recognize that there are people that are tuning in or perhaps diving into this conversation a little half-cocked. They don't know everything that has gone on. But essentially, to kind of bring everyone up to speed, over the course of the last 2 years, we've seen IHRA, the International Hot Rod Association, an organization that's been around since the 70s in a multitude of different shapes and forms, right? We've seen this thing change hands, by my count, about 10 times. At least 10 times the IHRA has changed ownership since the late 70s. And we saw it change hands again in early 2000, or 2 years ago, roughly. We saw the arrival of Daryl Cuttle, and as kind of a figurehead, if you will, or kind of the leader behind the all new IHRA. We saw a slew of announcements. It kind of started with a bunch of track purchases. We saw, tracks being announced as purchased, and there was obviously drama along the way with that, right? We can, acknowledge that
it has been exciting every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
From day one, it has been a nonstop source of talk and rumor and everything. There's been, we can't summarize it in the time we have here.
No, I don't know that there's any way to summarize it entirely here, but I will tell you that a lot has happened, and a lot of this is fairly well documented, right? I mean, the IHRA burst onto the scene, started immediately with track purchases, right? We saw these tracks being gobbled up, and that was, to be honest, if I'm being completely transparent here, I think that was, for any of those of us that have been here for a long time, that have seen a lot of, because I'll tell you, I've been professionally involved with the sport of drag racing for 20 years, and I've watched sanctioning bodies wobble and recover. I've watched them die. Everything I'm seeing here, everything that's on the public record, tells me that this one's not coming back. But I will tell you that we've seen a tremendous amount of things happen. It started with the track purchases. Then we saw the launch of the IHRA Outlaw Nitro series. And, the IHRA, for all intents and purposes, had, I think that this is fair to say, Mike, was kind of rooted in door slammer drag racing. It's where we saw Pro Modified birth. It's where we saw Mountain Motor Pro Stock become a significant part of the sport of drag racing. And of course, we saw, obviously Clay Millican built his brand on the back of IHRA Top Fuel Racing, which was a very considerable era, right? We even saw the introduction of Nitro Funny Car when Torco Racing Fuels got involved with the IHRA. In the late 2000s, I guess it was. And so anyways, we've seen this thing kind of take on a lot of different forms, but the IHRA to me was always something of a journeyman. It was a great place for, for some racers, perhaps for Pro Mod and Pro Stock, it was the tip, it was the highest of highs. It was the pinnacle of that brand of drag racing. For nitro categories, I would argue that it was something of a stepping stone. It was a great place to go learn to race at a high level, learn to race in a professional manner. But I think it's safe to say, and not at all disparaging, to acknowledge that the IHRA's nitro division, whether it was one or two classes, was always a stepping stone towards the NHRA. We see the IHRA in 2026, I guess it is, burst onto the scene with a multitude of we're going to the moon on everything. We're going to pay more money for Top Fuel, pay more money for Funny Car, pay more money for Pro Stock, pay more money for Pro Mod, and the list goes on. Pay more money for Fuel Altereds. They adopted a bunch of classes that historically had not been a part of IHRA drag racing.
And I think that was a big part of it too. Like we talk about these fuel cars, these fuel altereds. A lot of these classes were classes that didn't have a good alternative or a place to race. And so I think that an IHRA kind of always catered to that, like you talked about with those other classes. It created an avenue for a lot of racers that had cars that didn't fit somewhere else to go and compete for massive eye-popping money.
And which was also a red flag though, because you can sell out that whole damn track and it's not paying the purse. That's not to mention everybody that works there.
Let's not get to that yet. So I agree, but I think we've got to kind of stair step into this because So as we've seen this thing all unfold, is that we've seen, the track purchases. We saw a multitude of events. I mean, it looked at early on, there was going to be a handful of events. It quickly became, no, we're going to do a full slate of events with cross-country travel and a championship points fund. We saw the introduction of the IHRA Triple Crown, this $1 million bonus that spans, 5 classes, I believe: Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, Pro Mod, and their other version of Pro Stock, right? The factory, the kind of FX.
Couldn't even keep up with it. Couldn't even keep up with it. And that's a good idea, though, to do a 3-race deal for $1 million and call it a Triple Crown type of event, man. But
that's a pretty good idea.
Somebody should do that. Somebody really should do that. And follow through with it all the way through 3 events. That'd be crazy.
Well, in fairness, and there was a lot. Mountain Motor, of course, Joshua is one of those classes. But so we've seen all of this happen. And we actually, what we saw was a multitude of people kind of flock towards this thing. I do think that there were people that were kind of waiting in the wings, right? I talked to plenty of racers that said, hey, listen, we applaud what's going on. That's fantastic. But we're committed to, we're committed to doing PDRA, NHRA, Midwest. We're committed to wherever it is that we race. And if there's an opportunity to go to participate in one of those deals, perhaps we will do that. But as far as going all in, we're going to kind of take a wait and see approach. And I think there was a lot of us that were taking something of a wait and see approach. And throughout the course of these last 2 years, to JT's point, it's like there have been multiple instances where those of us that are paying attention saw warning lights, right? Because, and this is the thing that I do not know that it makes sense or is even worth our breath to talk about what could have been or how the math model. But I will say the point JT was about to make is that, these events, and no matter what anybody wants to say, or no matter how much money anybody has, my typical rule of thumb, and I stand by this, typically, the bigger the splash upon arrival, the sooner the departure. I have seen that story play out a dozen times in the sport of drag racing. And to compare and contrast that, we have also seen people that are very well resourced, right? That have deep pockets, big sponsors, what have you, that have been very measured and calculated in their approach to the sport of drag racing. And guess what? They're still here, right? And that is that I think is very difficult for people that are in that situation, right, to control themselves. I mean, we've seen this multiple times where, we have this big, eccentric, wealthy person arrive on the scene in the sport of drag racing. And I'm here to say that I have personally had this conversation with Daryl Cuttle. I think some of the people that talk about these things from behaving like they're experts, I can tell you that and I'm not going to go too much further than that out of respect for the people that are involved, but I will tell you I have personally had conversations with Daryl that were revolving around restraint, exercising restraint. The problem is restraint is not something that people of this national caliber find exciting. Right? What's exciting to them is moving fast. I mean, how many times did we hear the catchphrase "make it happen"? And I'm a make it happen guy.
We're at the what the fuck just happened stage now.
Yeah, I mean,
they say like Meta,
the three
types, and Meta has a saying: move fast and break shit, meaning just go, move fast and leave a trail in your dust. That could be positive in a lot of ways, but in this case, every announcement and everything, like back to the announcements and everything we talked about, every single one that came out was another thing that if you are operating this business was another cut that led to a death by 1,000 cuts because of like you said, we knew it was too much. It's too much, too fast. It's something that probably could have been sustainable and been a great thing. Just was, we know the economics. We know how these things work, and not saying that we have any more information than anyone else, but looking at it, Wes,
we have had more information. And,
we do.
Wes, just already can't talk about it.
I think about that. And Wes, I'll let you get back to what you were, your path you were on, but you and I have been on the other side of this. We have been racers, and I think racers see this in a vastly different light than people that work or are a manufacturer or a track operator, promoter, media company. And when you get on the other side and you see it, you are much more aware of these things. But then when you're a racer, that optimism that someone is coming to save the day and to pay you what you think you're worth and to make all these things happen that aren't really feasible, but you wish could happen, it clouds how you see things. And I think that that's where online for the past couple of weeks, we've really seen this 2-path system where you've got the people that kind of, you hate to see it, but you almost could see it coming. But then you've got the ones that are, devastated by this because of that optimism from a racer standpoint. And I think that has been the toughest
There's
thing.
some just blindly optimistic about it. It's like, dude, I mean, like, read the writing on the wall. I mean, how many times can you get screwed over and just keep posting, unicorns and rainbows about it? I mean, great decision. Like, is it? I mean, like,
the reality is this, guys. The reality is this, that, and again, I am not going to go too far and say too much, but I will tell you that 2 years ago, I feel like this is safe to say, I had an opportunity to run the IHRA, to sell my company and to go to work for the IHRA. And I opted not to, not out of lack of support or cheerleading. And I offered our services. I offered to consult. I offered to be involved. Matter of fact, I shook hands on a deal to be involved, loosely from afar, right? Because I felt that I had worked too hard and come too far over the course of nearly 20 years, spent every dollar I have and every moment I have trying to grow my business. And I just was not prepared to blindly sign it away, right? And now, God, honest with you guys, I've got friends and people that are near and dear to me that told me I'm an idiot. I should have sold this thing, cashed out, and lived with the consequences, right? But I couldn't have slept at night. I just couldn't. I care too much about you two sons of bitches right now on the screen. I care about our entire team too much to not have known without a shadow of a doubt that I can take care of you. And that's a responsibility that I take very seriously. I think you guys both know that. I think our entire team knows that. And I just could not with a clear conscience sign it all over. But that's not to say that I wasn't prepared to be a cheerleader. Unfortunately, that decision of mine was not well received. And it did change. I mean, Mike and JT can attest to things that I think that it changed the dynamic between Drag Illustrated and myself and the IHRA, right? We had a situation that I guess I'm not afraid to mention about a year ago where the IHRA made a strong move to hire my entire staff away from me. Over 6 people on my staff were offered double salaries and new trucks and private air travel to leave me.
Yeah, we became the target.
We became the target. And that was fine. And I know that that's how business is done. I understand that it's a rough and tough world out there. And as much as it was difficult to me, for me to swallow, I will tell you that a year later, some of those team members are back here at Drag Illustrated. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of our willingness to bring them back. But yeah, in the course of 72 hours, Drag Illustrated lost almost half of its staff a year ago, almost to the day. I didn't make this public. I did not go on social media and run my mouth about it. I didn't, it is what it is, as they say. Right. And, so anyways, when I see some of the people talk about these things, the way that they do, I can't help but kind of chuckle to myself. And I've seen lots of comments about people losing respect or whatever. I'm not here to, air out dirty laundry, but I will tell you that, I've lost a lot of respect for people. There's a lot of people in this space that I see through in a different light today than I did a couple of years ago. And it's because of a lot of the things that we've been mentioned here. And like I said, whatever, life goes on. We moved on. We survived. We were bigger and better for it. I think that we've had a couple of those instances, Mike, JT, where, I think of COVID when we lost a bunch of advertisers almost overnight. We were better for it. It was tough in the moment. I think back to last summer, I took my daughter on her birthday trip, and I literally no more than landed back in Dallas, got home and found out that nearly half my staff was leaving to go to work for the IHRA. And it was a tough pill to swallow last summer. But here we are a year later, and obviously things have changed. And I will tell anybody that looked at this thing through the, I get it. Mike made a great point, and this is why the reason that you saw, despite everything that I just described, which is an absolute fucking fact, despite everything that I just said, I told my team that we are going to support the IHRA. Not because I love the way these people have behaved or any of the things that have been done to us, but because the racers deserve it. Because I'm not going to let Scott Palmer win an Ironman, or any of these guys win, Jason Harris win $100,000, or Travis Harvey, and not get to see their name in lights. Because I don't care who's at the helm of any of these things. I don't care who's running any of this shit. I care about racers. Racers are my people. Racers and fans are my people. And we made a conscious decision right here, and you can go to dragillustrated.com right now, and you can see proof of what I am saying, that we covered all their races. We posted quote cards on social from their winners. We celebrated what they accomplished. Because
we did more research and did more press release interviews with their racers than they did themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that's been very helpful to us over the course of the last couple decades is the organizations that have in-house PR people. I think about the information that we get from the PDRA. I mean, obviously we generate a lot of that content, but nonetheless, we have an open door relationship with Tommy Franklin and Tyler Crossnow and Judy Franklin and, everybody involved with the PDRA. It is an open book. We don't have to wonder what happened. They send us whatever we need, quotes, photos, anything that we need. Gary Rose sends us the winner's circle photos from every PDRA race. The NHRA is very similar. We get a tremendous amount of information from the NHRA after every event. We get every photo, every press release, video documents. I mean, everything. Josh Hatchett, Jeffrey Young, the NHRA do an incredible job. Ellen Eschenbacher, Damon Steinke, Keith Haney himself at the Midwest Drag Racing Series. They do a great job of keeping us in the loop. Ellen personally sends me the run sheets after every single event they do, so that we don't have any questions, that we can cover their events adequately. Unfortunately, throughout the course of the last year and a half or so, that was a much different situation with IHRA. We were having to scramble. We were having to call friends. We were having to phone people in towers, get people to take pictures of shit. Anything we could do to cover those races. But I do think that I feel very proud that we did what we do. We supported
high road, man. It's tough. The high road is not very populated, man. It is tough. And
there have been people.
This is so cathartic right now. I feel 100 pounds lighter right now. This is something that has been going on for 2 years now, and is, again, we love the racers, and this is why we did it. And we hate this whole thing for the racers, but this is what's been going on that has been, it's made an already tough business and tough job even tougher.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and I will tell you, making a living in the sport of drag racing, there aren't very many people that do it, right? And I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to do it for 20 years. And I think it's because we put the sport above all else. Our mission from day one was to grow and build the sport of drag racing by celebrating the men and women who make this sport what it is. And we have lived and died by that. I mean, there have been multiple opportunities, as recently as Daryl Cuddle sitting across from me, offering me whatever it took to buy Drag Illustrated from me. I just didn't feel comfortable with that scenario. I just didn't know that I would be able to continue what I believe to be God put me on this earth to do, which was to preach the gospel of drag racing. It's what gets me out of bed every morning. And it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I'm excited about. And I couldn't have done it. And I look at, and along the way, again, because these things probably do need to at least get addressed, I think that there was a lot of optimism, right? And I will be honest that I was cheering him on, especially as soon as I started to see the IHRA buying all these racetracks. I felt like I had no choice but to cheer him on for the betterment and the health and wellness long-term of these venues. We needed the IHRA to be successful because there was damn near a dozen racetracks that were entangled in this deal. And I needed to see the sport of drag racing. I don't want to see these tracks go away. So, I never faulted a single racer. I will tell you, there were times when I saw somebody that was one of our stars or somebody that I felt like I'd really poured a ton of energy and effort into, show up at one of those races and golly, oh my God, that's my guy, but it's unfair of me to feel that way. Right. I mean, I don't own any of these people.
Not really. It's just how personally we're invested in that we take it and what we've done for elevating a lot of these guys through the World Series of Pro Mod, through the Winter Series, through everything we've done, that you're totally in the right to feel that way. I mean,
there were some times that it hurt more than others.
Because of what was going on in the background.
But I mean, here's a couple of quick realities. A couple of quick realities. And this was some of the conversation that when people would ask me, and I was very tight-lipped about all this. This is the first time I've ever spoken publicly about any of the things that have happened over the course of the last couple of years. It would not have taken a mathematician to realize that there was no possible way for this to work out. Wealthy people don't become wealthy by burning money. And for those people that talk about tax write-offs and this and that, that's not how it works, friends. You cannot,
not to this level.
This is not how it works. If you've never had a situation where you've got a taxable income situation, you may not understand this, but you cannot just burn money and show no source of revenue, right? Like that's not, the government's not going to allow that to happen. Otherwise no one would fucking pay taxes, right? Because everybody would just start an LLC and spend everything through it. And there has to be something, it has to generate revenue, right? There has to be money coming in. Otherwise, it's not a real business. And the IRS is going to immediately recognize that this is nothing more than a tax shelter and they're going to come after you, right? So for any of the people that think, oh, this guy was making so much money that he had to, there's some truth to that. But there has to be a business that is generating that much money to justify that, right? And it is much more complicated than just, oh, I'm going to have to spend it on this, or taxes, I'm going to spend it on this, right? It's much more nuanced than that. Not to mention, even if that were the case, this was an unsustainable level of spending. I mean, I've got inside information that talks about that tells me, you know, how much was being spent on catering. I personally have tried to rent a Ferris wheel on about 12 different occasions. And I can tell you that they are about $35,000 for a weekend, right? That's how much it costs to rent a Ferris wheel. I tried to rent one a few months ago, and that's an expensive endeavor, but it's pennies, maybe less than pennies compared to how much was being spent. And I'll tell you, for those that haven't done this, I challenge you to do it. We here at Drag Illustrated have done it. Google Earth is free. Type into Google Earth. Every racetrack on the country can be viewed via Google Earth. You can spend about an hour and probably get the seating capacity of every drag strip in North America pretty close. A human being takes 18 inches. So all you have to do is draw a line around the square of the grandstands, figure up the square footage and divide it by 18 inches. You can get a pretty solid estimate of how many human beings each one of these tracks will hold. And I can tell you that the IHRA could not have sold out every racetrack they own 10 times over for the rest of mankind and offset the purse that they were paying. If they were to try to offset the purse for the last race in Columbus, they would have had to have parked 35,000 cars at $40 a whack to break even.
Doesn't matter, Wes. He's a multi-billionaire. He's trying to burn money. It doesn't matter.
I understand.
He can sustain it for 8 years. You know, like
where you go back to the I totally get it, because I've been around it my whole life. The racer optimism that didn't really want to look at that math. But I get it. You know, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. We all have heard that. And just unfortunately, that's the situation we find ourselves in. Santa Claus is not coming down the chimney. And if you can be a good boy all you want, or a good boy and girl, but you're not getting on the list, that he's not coming down the chimney. I mean, and that's just the unfortunate situation. But I don't fault anybody for the optimism and for trying. But
I will tell you this, that a lot of people hate this guy. What's his name? The Cycle Jack, right? Cycle Drag.
Yeah, Jack Corpella.
I know Jack kind of. We've talked a handful of times and whatnot, and we've always been friendly or whatever. But I don't know that he's going about what he's doing the way, obviously, that I would go about it. However, a lot of what he's saying is true.
The reason they hate him isn't from just this shit.
A lot of what he is saying is true.
No, yeah.
And this is ill-advised. This entire situation has been ill-advised since day one. And I honestly think, I honestly believe that it's unfortunate that it has come to this. But I think anybody with a lick of sense could have looked and said that this is at the bare minimum, not sustainable long term. Could it be sustainable for a year? Could it last for a few years? Perhaps, but long term sustainability. When you talk about, people can say whatever they want about the NHRA. 5 years tells the story. The PDRA 12 years tells the story. The Midwest Drag Racing Series 12 years tells the story. And I think that matters more, because for the crews and the people that are shouting like, oh my gosh, we got paid so much money and we've never gotten paid that much money and we've never gotten treated that much. What about the teams that built cars? What about the guys that are calling me right now, scrambling for a place to race? Guys that had built onto their engine shops, right? Guys that built, there are cars coming out of shops right now that are brand new, $250,000, $400,000 race cars that no longer have a home.
And there's cars going up for sale as we speak that were hinged on this.
So,
and not to mention trucks, trailers, parts, these tracks, all the stuff that was built around it. And that is going to be the next step that we have to enter and watch the fallout of it. But I think now's a good time to pivot and say, where do we go from here, and how do we view this going forward? And what is the takeaway from it?
Here's what I'm going to close this particular part, because there's, like I said, I feel like I could talk about this for the next 3 days and probably not say everything that I want to say. But a couple of things is what I think the damage that has been done are these two things specifically. First and foremost, we saw the warping of market expectations. And I don't know that everybody I hope, and I'll explain this in as simple of terms as possible. But what we saw the IHRA do was introduce kind of an artificial economy. And it put pressure on all these other players in the space to try to live up to those expectations that were not feasible. And that is something that nobody really wants to kind of identify, because as cool as it was to see these $100,000+ purses and $500 entry fees, right? And free meals and free ice, of course, and all of these various things. And what I will admit,
forget the ice.
Yeah, what I will admit was a world-class live stream. One thing the IHRA did very well was
badass.
An incredible live stream. But what people don't know is that producing a live stream to that level is a $150,000, $200,000 a weekend endeavor. There is not another promoter, sanctioner series in this space that has the business economics to support that. But what happened was, when the IHRA introduces that level of production, that becomes the expectation across the board. Right. So now everybody else in the space is being measured against what they're seeing the IHRA produce. But nobody is acknowledging the fact that is not financially sustainable. No one else has the resources. I sell more sponsorship to our event than I would argue anybody else in the fucking history of drag racing, short of NHRA. Right. Personally, Wes Buck, I make those deals. I sell more sponsorship and I promise you, you cannot sell enough sponsorship to offset that level of spending. You cannot do it. And that is a real problem. I saw more people than ever complaining about the NHRA.TV feed. I saw more people than ever complaining about Flow Racing, right? Because they were getting this Cadillac live stream over here for free, but no one else can afford to do that because we're not playing with monopoly money. Right. And even more so on the purse side, I have never in the history of putting on my events have ever had anybody complain to me about our entry fees. Our entry fees are high, and they are high by design, and I will never apologize for it. Do I want to charge my racers a penny? Absolutely not. But our sport's not there yet, friends. Anybody who knows me knows that there is nothing I would rather do than give it all away for free. That's what I want to do. And I have. in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
we do. We could, that's a whole nother show for a whole nother day.
But my point is that I've never been bashful about it. If you're going to come to one of our events, you're going to be a part of a world-class experience that very few people get to participate in, but you're going to pay. And you're going to pay because I need you to be invested. I can't have you decide the week before that your thumb hurts and you're not going to make it, right? I cannot have that.
It might conflict with your vacation.
I can't do it, right? And so by charging high entry fees, I get a real meaningful commitment from my talent, right? And here's the other thing that I feel very good about. I have never, at least to my knowledge, I personally have paid out over $1.5 million in payouts since 2017, right? And I know that pales in comparison to what some people have done. So I'm not asking, I'm not asking for a pat on the back. I'm just saying that Drag Illustrated have paid out over $1.5 million in payout. And I'm pretty fucking proud of that, to be honest with you guys. That's a number that I never thought I would even say in my life. And to know that I've paid that money to racers, but to the Stevie Jacksons and some of these people that like to bust my balls about having to pay these entry fees and whatnot, I will tell you that every dollar that I've taken in for entry fees, I've paid to racers. And that's what allows me to sleep at night. I lost money at the World Series of Pro Mod. Everybody likes to talk about how much money Wes has made and blah, 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 blah. I lost money at the World Series of Pro Mod this year, right? That event lost money. So it's like we had 65 cars. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do the math, right? You do, let's just fucking do it, right? All right, let's just do the math. So 65 cars, right? My solar powered calculator, as my dad always said I had to have, times 2,000. That comes out to $130,000, right? So 65 cars at 20 at 2,000 a whack, that was $130,000. Now, granted, we have some people that, either are a sponsor, so maybe their entry fee was included, right? Those things like that. So that's not even an accurate number. I could pull it up on the FOTE, but I won't. My point is we paid $150,000 to win, right? We lost money on the purse at that event, right? Not to mention $10,000 to qualify number one, not to mention buying everybody a jacket. And I'm going to fucking real quick. Thanks to Mark Beatty, every single one of them.
Yeah, bring him on in.
Mark, I'm going to take you back away because I need just a minute more. But because of this man on the screen right now, he wrote a check for $12,000 to make sure that every single one of my racers got a custom World Series of Pro Mod jacket, right? So we lost money on that, right? But I don't give a fuck. I don't do it for that. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. That's not why I do what I do, because I'm playing a long game. But I think that the biggest disaster or the biggest thing that's going to happen on the heels of this is that there's going to be a reset, friends, because what we saw was the expectations become so high and so unsustainable that those of us, like where I was going with this is I've never had a single person complain to me about our entry fees until when?
July of last year.
Yep. Until the IHRA came on the scene, right? Because all of a sudden I was being compared to them. Well, Wes, I really want to come down to Bradenton. I really would like to support you, but man, I can go race over here, right? For, $500, I can pay an entry fee and I can race for 150 or whatever. And I had to tell people, good, go. We can still be friends, whatever, do you, dog, right? It is what it is. I can't play that game, and I refuse to play that game. Richard's calling me, and it's like
Richard's like, well, oh shit.
Yeah. But so my point on this is that's probably one of the things that's going to hurt the worst here, at least early on, is there's going to have to be kind of a mutual understanding around the board that the economics of this sport are not where we want them to be. They're certainly not where I want them to be, but I would argue that they're improving. I really would. I would argue that we're
working on getting there, man. We talk about that a lot on this show, what we've seen in just the last 5 years. And we're on a good path, and we were. And this kind of got us off in the marbles a little bit, but we're on that path. The whole sport collectively is on that path.
And I mean, and to that point earlier about World Series, like it was a world-class event. It was pandemonium. It was packed. I had fans. I mean, I have friends that I've made fans that are come from South Africa and Russia and Europe and the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Like we have a global brand with the World Series of Pro Mod. I would argue that is the most significant independent drag race on the planet Earth. And as far as its reach, the amount of investment people make in that event, I'm very proud of it. But my point is that we now are faced with changing expectations on the heels of the IHRA, as are, and I'm obviously being selfish talking about myself or talking about our events because that's what I'm the most comfortable with. But this same reality exists for PDRA. It same exact reality exists for the Midwest Drag Racing Series. The same reality existed for the NHRA. I mean, I've seen dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of posts on social media about, well, NHRA should pay more. NHRA, there's a reason they don't pay more. There's a reason that they've kept their purses in control, because you just can't control everything. And you have to be thinking about the next year and the next year. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, and this isn't something I'm super proud to say, but I mean, I'm a rain out away from fucking living in a dumpster. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality of Wes Buck's existence, right? Is that if we have things go awry, it's a real problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a risk taker. I'm a gambler. I'm cool with it. It's exciting. I get a kick out of it, right? We have a ton of fun together. I love seeing all my boys. I love bringing my racers together. I love getting to meet their kids. And I mean, I've watched a lot of these people show up, grow up. I knew Ty Tutterow, I think, when he was born. You know what I mean? Like, I've known these guys their entire lives. I know their wives' names. I know their kids. I travel. They're my friends, right? And it's one of the things that I think our whole sport is going to have to wrap their head around is that the economics of this is not where any of us want it to be. There is nothing, Kenny Nolling used to love to get on the internet there when he had his moment going nuts. And I talked to Kenny. I actually have no problem with Kenny Nolling, to be honest. He called me right now. I'd answer. I talked to him a couple weeks ago. But yeah. Kenny, and he apologized to me, but he used to give me a hard time about charging an entry fee at our racers. He would call our events glorified gamblers races. Well, they are what they are, Kenny. You know what I mean? And I told him that, and he recognized that our sport, the argument of the ADRL back in the early days was always that the stars, the talent shouldn't have to pay. If you're in the NFL, you're not paying to walk onto the field. Well, guys and gals, I hate to break it to you, but we're not the NFL. Not yet. Right. And now, granted, that doesn't mean we can't continue aspiring to be there. But the reality is we're drag racing, boys and girls. That's what we're doing. And do I want to see the sport continue to grow? Do I want to see us break into the mainstream sports conversation? Do I want us to see us break into the pop culture conversation? Absolutely. And I think we are making progress. I feel strongly that we're making progress. But the reality is that we're just not there yet. And at this point in time, JT, I'd love for you to chime in here just momentarily because I'm not quite done. But please, whenever I would tell us about how much money you spend to go to a golf tournament.
Yeah, when somebody complains it's at this level of competition and all the stuff they have. I mean, for us to go to Hicktown and spend the weekend playing a 2-day tournament, we have our entry fees, which is, a few $100s. We invested some clubs, and then we go to Calcutta and we may sell for $1,000, $2,000, maybe more, $3,000, $4,000 at Calcutta that you're buying. So we've got more invested in ourselves to make a fraction of the money, to be honest with you.
And admittedly, one of Billy Glidden's favorite, conversations. I remember being at PRI many years ago, and Billy stood up during a Real Pro Mod Association meeting and made this big case about how it's an absolute tragedy that golfers get to go golf for millions of dollars, and all they've got to do is show up with a bag of clubs, right? And I recognize that but volunteers can't be victims. Jeff Burke used to say this on dragracingonline.com. I actually have it printed out on my wall
or something, or is it the bottom of his article?
There's a reality to that, right? No one is holding a gun to anyone's head saying that they have to spend $1 million on a Pro Mod car and go race it. No one is forcing anyone to do that. It's a choice we make. And we all recognize that this is a hobby, right? We may hobby at a high level. We hobby hard around here, right? Drag racers hobby hard.
Man. Trying to provide a platform for these guys to go do this thing, this crazy, nonsensical thing that they love. And that's what we're all in together, is providing that platform. But how about
these entry fees are so low, like on the level of what you're going to win, the level of production that you guys put on. We don't have nobody there from a magazine or we don't have anything being live streamed. I'm just saying it's peanuts from what these guys spend, really.
It is peanuts from what these guys spend. And I will tell you guys that, and I understand. I don't want to charge anyone an entry fee, and I applaud the thought process that the IHRA was holding on to, that racers shouldn't have to pay a ton of money to go racing, and I agree with that. But I also
that's
agree
what racers want, man. How many times did your dad or my dad say, "I'm not paying an entry fee to go race"?
I mean, we actually found a way, like with my dad's racing, we actually joined a traveling organization that kind of, excluded us from having to pay an entry fee.
But there's always something that offsets that. There's a reason why you're not paying an entry fee. and
right.
If you dig
100%.
far enough, you'll find it. And we found it here with the IHRA situation, but that's just one small piece of it. And
right.
Let's bring on Mark Beatty.
I'm not done. Mark's patient, and Mark to
talk about patient. Some of these economics behind this stuff as he enters his new role for PDRA. I think it'd be a great
second, Mark.
Transition
1 second
into that.
We will. Secondly, and this needs to be said as well, is that what hurts me the most right now, what I see is the biggest, the saddest part of this whole situation is that there have been those of us, many of us, not just me, many people in the sport of drag racing that have been working tirelessly over the course of probably specifically the last decade, right? To bring this group of people together. And that's one of the things that I am most proud of what, Vic Alvarez, myself, the guys at Bradenton and everybody were able to do at the Winter Series. And what we were able to do before that, when we were doing the World Series of Pro Mod in Bandamere, I felt proud of being able to bring this group of people together. I have always wanted to be a galvanizing force in the sport of drag racing. And what is the most disheartening at this moment in time is the division that has been created in the sport of drag racing. We've seen people take sides. We've seen people call names. We've seen people air out all sorts of dirty laundry and call people out for things. And I'll tell you, there was a whole world of us. There was a lot of people. I mean, I think back to what has happened over the course of the last few years. Myself and the Pro Racer organization, I think that was one of the big catalysts in the sport of drag racing that said, we are going to tear these walls down and we are going to do this together. And we're going to prove that this group of people can band together and make a change and make something positive happen. And we held what was undoubtedly one of the greatest drag races in the history of the fucking known universe with the Pro Superstar Shootout.
Bobby Bennett said it was top 5 all time. Remember? Put that on this list.
100%. And it was. And I'll tell you, that was a product. That event only happened because there was a group of racers who decided we were going to put our own personal interest aside and we were going to try to do something for the greater good. And I will tell you, for Pro Mod, I've spent more time talking about rules. I remember walking across the pits in 2010-ish, right? And I was talking to a very respected person in the media, works currently at Motor Trend. I won't name him. But I said to him, if I had one dream, I would get all these Pro Mod organizations to run the same rules. If we could just, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, that's a pipe dream. Right. And I will tell you that over the course of the last 15, 16 years, I've worked hard for that. We've worked hard to make our rules at World Series of Pro Mod something of the universal rule set. Right. And we're not all the way there yet. Right. PDRA kind of has their own variation of it. Midwest has their own variation of it. But like, that is a representation of the work that's being done behind the scenes to make it so that whether you're Ryan Hayward and you live in wherever the fuck, Seattle, Washington, right? Or if you're Randy Weatherford, right? You can race, right? You can cross pass and you don't got to change your car wholesale, make wholesale changes to your combination to go support these various sanction and series, right? And what I would really like to say is this division is not helpful. It is without question it's the most significant damage that has been done over the course of the last 2 years is this division that has been created. And I hate it. And I am here to rectify it. And I will tell you that I am an open book. I will talk to anybody that wants to talk about this stuff. But what has to happen now is that we have to decide that we're going to do this together, right? And I know that sounds cliche and it sounds like I'm at Sunday school, and I get it. And people can poke fun at me. I don't care. I really don't. But until this community decides that we're going to pull the rope the same direction, right? Until this group of people decides that we're going to start swimming in the same direction. And you know what? I'm going to be okay with not loving the run order because I understand that those guys are the show. Until everybody recognizes their place and what they can contribute. I mean, I don't mean to sound like John Kenny, but it's like, don't ask what the sport of drag racing can do for you. Ask what you can do for the sport of drag racing. Our sport needs support. It needs people. It needs optimism. I'm out in the real world. I was in Las Vegas, Nevada last weekend trying to sell sponsorship to my events. And I'll tell you, the last thing I want any of those people to do at the companies that I was talking to is Google drag racing right now. The last thing I want them to do is get on social media and look about drag racing, because they are not going to feel warm and fuzzy. So we have to change this conversation. We have to do something immediately to try to accept that what's happened has happened, right? This is an unfortunate situation, and I'm here to tell you that the IHRA is over. For anybody that's holding their breath, waiting for this thing, I mean, by all intents and purposes, I do not see a world in which this thing, I do not. I don't know for a fact, but I feel strongly that this experiment has run its course. And I applaud everything that was done. I love all the money that some of these guys made. I love that they got catered meals. I love that they got to ride on a Ferris wheel. It's badass. It's super cool, man. It's great. But as we start to look forward, which is what's going to need to happen right now, is we've got to recognize, and I think maybe I'm speaking specifically to my pro mod brethren, but I think I'm talking to, really all of grassroots drag racing, that it's time to support one another. It's time to, there's somebody that I think deserves credit. I don't see a lot of this. I see Keith Haney, who, is a very polarizing figure in our sport, right? Some people love him, some people hate him, some people kind of ride the fence, right? I love Keith. And one thing I've seen guys like Keith Haney do is support I saw him running PDRA earlier this year. This guy owns his own organization, right? Tommy Franklin for years came and supported me at the World Series of Pro Mod, even though he probably knew that with a nitrous car, he didn't have the greatest of chance to go win that race. He still went down there and supported it. And this is going to be a really important thing as we move forward, that we've got to get people to really work together. And again, I know it sounds silly, but could we not? There are people that think I'm like the most egocentric person on the planet. I'm actually not. I have to almost talk myself into doing this show every single week because it's not something that I can't wait to do, right? I feel it's a responsibility I have. Someone has to do this. But I will tell you, could we not table egos, table pride, table pecking order, and say, hey, I'm going to do 6 races. Y'all do 6 races. Let's draw straws for weekends. Let's rotate weekends. Maybe you get a couple of the great weekends this year. I get a couple of the great weekends next year. You stay in the East Coast. I'll stay in the Midwest. I'll stay in Texas. I've offered this. I'm going to, and I'm putting this out there publicly now. I am willing to work with any pro mod promoter under the sun that wants to make their event a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier. I would like to create a network of World Series of Pro Mod qualifier events. That's an open invitation to Tommy Franklin. Let's pick one of your races, maybe one that struggles, right? Let's pick one that needs some sizzle, right? And I will come in and I'll promote it. I'll come in and I'll co-promote it. Keith Haney, door is open. Let's pick one of your events. Obviously they're getting ready to go to Martin, Michigan. That place is going to be a banger, right? Absolute barn burner. But let's pick one of the ones that struggle a little bit with attendance. And let's turn it in to a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier. Monty Miko, Jim Halsey, I'll shake your hand right now. The yellowbullet.com Nationals can become a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier. Let's try to add value to those events, right? Let's find anybody else. Jarrell Aplo out on the East Coast that's doing his Pro Mod thing. I'm trying to think of who else is doing Pro Mod events. Clyde Scott, let's pick one of your events at XRP and I'll make the winner a World Series of Pro Mod, a guaranteed entry into the World Series of Pro Mod. Out on the West Coast, Mel Roth. I like Mel Roth a lot. Mel Streetcar Super Nationals. Let's run 8th Mile Pro Mod. Let's run my rules, and whoever wins that race gets a guaranteed seat at the table at the biggest, richest Pro Mod race in the history of the known universe. We've got to start working together. This is not rocket science, guys. We are just drag racing. Let's get this group of people together in a room. You can come to my house. I live in DFW. It's easy to get to. Everybody can come. We can sit around my dinner table, right? I'm more than welcome to this. And there's no reason that all of these things can't exist. Scott Higgs at Flying H, one of the coolest tracks in the country. He wants to put on a big money Pro Mod race. Let's make it a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier, right? Snowbird Outlaw Nationals, U.S. Street Nationals down at Bradenton, both of those events should be World Series of Pro Mod qualifiers. You win one of those races, you automatically get in to the World Series of Pro Mod. You don't got to worry about Wes liking you. You don't got to worry about getting an invitation. You're guaranteed to go there. I think these things, a little bit of unity right now is going to go a long way, right? And we can all, like I said, talk about how bad, it doesn't matter. I'm ready to go that direction. I'm ready to go forward, right? The sport of drag, Clay Millican bought a Pro Mod. Rick Ware bought a Pro Mod. I mean, I would argue that our sport right now is in a fine spot. Everybody, drag racers going to drag race. I can tell you that. I don't care if they close all these tracks down. Me and Richard Freeman will build one. I'll call him right now. Right? I mean, if they can close them every single one down, close them all. Close them all. We'll go drag racing. I promise you, we'll go drag racing. And is it sad or scary what may happen here? No doubt about it. But I'm telling you that there is plenty of opportunity. I tell my team every day, we are walking on fertile soil. The sport of drag racing is part of pop culture. It is more a part of the conversation than it's ever been. Racing is more a part of a conversation than it's ever been. People talk about Formula One. NASCAR's hot again, right? I mean, these things are, I mean, it's a good, look at what Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings did. People can bag on that all they want, right? But this is a group of people that put our sport in many ways on the map in front of the eyes of the general public, right? It's there. It's there for the taking. But so long as we continually, Corey Swanstrom, done fucking deal, right? You guys love to give me shit and talk shit about me. I'm completely cool. Justin loves talking shit about me. I'm 100% happy right now to make the Swan Fest a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier. Say when, right? Done deal, right? I'm ready to put it all to bed, right? It's fine. Whatever's happened has happened, but we've got to start looking forward. And I'll tell you, Pro Mod is the strongest professional category in the sport of drag racing right now. It is the tip of the sword. It is a very sellable product. These are cars that look like cars. They look like life-size Hot Wheels driven by cowboys and cowgirls. They're ill-handling. They're dangerous. They're fast. All of these things, they are the perfect vehicle for our sport to grow into the future. And I'm telling you, NHRA is seeing that. That's why they've wrapped their arms around the NHRA Pro Mod series the way they have in recent years. They recognize that something unique, something special is happening here. But as long as we continue to fight against one another, pocket watch one another, count everybody's money, argue over dates, we're going to be fighting this same battle for 100 years. And I'm telling you, this is like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results, right? And so I'm challenging everybody, myself included, that it's time, guys, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to have another conversation about a promoter disappearing in the night without paying anybody, because that's what's about to happen, okay? That's what's about to happen. And it's not the first time. But we've got to do something about it. Therefore, we have to build events and build a network of events that are fiscally responsible for themselves, that can sustain for the long term, right? It can't just be, guys, we don't need just another rich guy. I know plenty of people in this sport that literally sit around and hope that another rich guy shows up. Fuck that, right? Let's build something, right? Let's build something that doesn't need a philanthropist. We don't need them. We do not. We have plenty of rich guys. I know people in the Pro Mod pits right now that could buy and sell most of America. Literally. I mean, you may not know them because they're not that loud and proud about it. And I'll teach some of you young guys a lesson. If they're wearing work boots and blue jeans and a flannel shirt, they probably came on a G350, right? Like the guy that you don't think has a Billy, got a Billy, okay? So there's plenty of wealthy people in this space, but if we could get a pooled resource, if we could get people to come together and recognize that everybody's going to have to be invested, everybody's going to have to stick their neck out, everybody's going to have to show up and buy a hot dog, right? Fans are going to have to show up. Fans are going to have to shut up and buy the Flow subscription, right? We're going to have to shut up. I buy every fucking subscription under the sun. I buy all of them. If there was 50 drag racing streaming services, I'd stop doing something else in my life to buy every one of them, Right now, I fight with my wife every month because I'm subscribed to Hulu, Amazon Prime, Paramount, Netflix. I don't even know. I'm subscribed to them all, right? And I don't care, right? And I understand maybe I'm blessed, you know what I mean? But I'm talking a couple of $100 a year that I can stop drinking Monster Energy drink and probably pay for my Flow Racing subscription, right? So all of this negativity, this is a choice that y'all are making. It's a choice that we have all made. Right? The fact is, you don't got to look but 5 months back, and there was over 100 different pro mods in Bradenton in one racetrack. 100 different pro mods in one place to race at one time. 85, 75, 65. That was our car count at 3 races, right? And I'm going to use this opportunity, and I know I have completely nuked this entire show, and I apologize to our guests, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to use this. These drag races are not to be measured by car count. They're not. I feel bad for these promoters, and I feel bad for Daryl Cuttle. I'm going to say too much. I know how he felt about having 31 cars show up at the Pro Mod Mania for $125,000 to win. I told that man to his face, that is nothing to be ashamed of, my friend. That's a lot of race cars. Like, you don't got to have 85 cars to have a drag race. Matter of fact, you need 2. That's all you need. If you're a good promoter, all you need is 2 cars. So to the Justin Swanstroms and some of these guys who've taken a lick, and some of these guys that haven't gotten, haven't had the participation that they think, or even the PDRA or Midwest, right? They'll take a beating like, oh, they only had 15 cars, whatever. No, that's a lot of cars. That's great. A full field is a full field. And I'm telling you guys that we've got to stop measuring these events by how many show up, right? It's a quality over quantity thing. 20 car pro mod show is world class. Because here's the other thing that our sport struggles to understand is that I know from experience, running 85 cars takes 2 hours. 2 hours to run one session of qualifying. Right? And that's if nothing goes wrong. Typically a little over 2 hours, right? And if nothing goes wrong. A 32, a 35 car show, what have you, a 25 car show, a 20 car show. What's that give you? It's concise, right? We can bring people in, we can show them a good time, and we can get them the hell home, right? Because that's what our sport's missing right now, right? We've got to create an entertainment product. Right? I mean, I went to the UFC events this past weekend. Like, you're not there from 9 a.m. till midnight. You know, you go for dinner with your wife, you get dressed up, you go to the race, and you should be able to go home at a reasonable time, right? But when these events are so rooted in having, oh man, 300 cars, 400 cars, 500 cars, that is not how we measure these events. These events, in my opinion, are measured in eyeballs, whether they're in this on site in venue or they're online. How many people care? That's what matters, right? And I can tell you from personal experience, in 2019, I put on the last World Series of Pro Mod in Denver, Colorado, $100,000 to win. I had 11 cars, not a single one of them paid an entry fee, right? So I've done it. So the people that like to give me a hard time about that, whatever, I've done the no entry fee deal. I've done that dance, right? 11 cars showed up to support me in Denver in 2019. 11. There's about 10 guys that still haven't told me they're not going to make it, right? It's been, 6 years, so it's not looking good, right? But there's about 10 guys that still haven't told me they're not going to show. But nonetheless, we had a hell of a drag race. JT, Mike, come back. Where are those guys at? Did we have a good race in Denver when we had 11 cars?
No doubt, man.
Did any fan complain to us?
No.
Nope.
Did anybody ask for their money back? Mark Beatty was there. Bring Mark in here. Mark, 2019. Was that a show or was that a show?
That was
Scotty awesome. O, the guy no one thought was going to win this race. Turbo Pro Mod, right? New team, Jeff Pierce, young kid tuning the car. Like everything that they were definitely not the favorite to win that race. But you know what? I mean, I got Scotty's picture hanging on my wall right here. Like, that was an iconic moment in the sport of drag racing. Did it change anything that we had 11 cars? No.
As a matter of fact, goes back to what you were saying. It almost helped because it was so bookend that the fans could experience it, like you said, without having to spend 14 hours at the racetrack. It was almost a positive. because at the time I was with Bannerman Speedway, so I was there all the days after you left, and we heard all the feedback from the spectators that were there, and it's just like they all loved it.
So that's my point, is that I think our whole sport, we've got to take stock of the situation we find ourselves in, right?
Yep.
And I will tell you that, and we're about to talk about some really positive things, but there is tremendous opportunity ahead of us. All it's going to take is some phone calls, picking up the phone, reaching out to one another. One of the things I've been really disappointed about, when I wanted to know what was going on with the IHRA, guess what I did? I went and fucking found out, right? Yeah. I didn't post on Facebook, right? I didn't run my mouth in some chat room or in a YouTube comment. I went and found out. I asked somebody. I rang some phones. Matter of fact, I got on a plane, right? And so I'm here to tell you guys that if we had some people talking, if we would have some communication, not sending texts, that's chicken shit, like communicating with each other, right? We can make some progress real fast. But as long as we all continue to operate with our blinders on and only care about what we're doing and what's directly in front of us, we're going to have a problem on our hands. And we're going to find ourselves having this same conversation with Mark Beatty next July, right here on the Wes Buck Show every Tuesday on YouTube, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on YouTube. I don't want to have this conversation anymore, Mark. I don't know about you, and welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mark Beatty. Just joined the PDRA leadership team. Nobody a bigger cheerleader for the PDRA than those of us here at Drag Illustrated. Congratulations, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
Where's the horn, JT?
I have the same feeling as you, Wes. It's like, all right, we need to find the positive in everything we do. It's just enough of all the bad. I'll add one thing, and I had a conversation. It was crazy. Max Naylor called me this morning. Stuff like that. So, I know, it was incredible, and we got in the conversation, and we were talking about, the vast majority of these racers out there, especially in the pro mod, they're all businessmen, right? They all own their own business. They run their own business, which allows them the disposable income to go race. And so every single day they make really, really, really tough decisions in their businesses to be profitable so they can keep racing. Well, an organization like the PDRA or Keith Haney at Midwest, or even you guys at your race, you know what? We should be allowed the same deal. We have to make decisions that we know are going to be good for our organizations. And a lot of times that's not a very popular decision, right? And it's just like, it's like the racer out there, it's like, just keep your business hat on, because we have to have our hat on at the PDRA. We can't do everything that we want to do or like to do or would be cool to do. It has to make fiscal sense. Just like every decision you make in your business has to make, financial sense and stuff. And so I think if we would all just go back to that, that's a great place to start. And then let's go positive. And then I'll chime in, Wes, let's make every single PDRA race a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier. I'm in. Let's go.
I appreciate it, man. And I think
let's do every one of them.
Yeah. So, this is the direction we've got to go, right? Yeah, because
absolutely.
And I don't say this from a braggadocious standpoint, and I hope you back me up on this, but I feel like the World Series of Pro Mod stands tall, in this community. And I know that I talk to chassis builders a lot. Like I spoke to Rick Horde earlier this week at Jerry Bickle Race Cars, another guy that's doing incredible things in our sport, and Rick said, like, I can't build Pro Mod cars fast enough. We couldn't triple capacity and they all want to run the World Series of Pro Mod. Like they're going to go run a point series. They're going to go do this. But by and large, the goal is to go run the World Series of Pro Mod. And I'm really proud of how that's happened. And I don't take we've worked really hard. And I'm very proud of it. My team, there's not a day that goes by that we're not in some way, shape, or form working on the World Series of Pro Mod. If we're not working on it, we're thinking about it, we're discussing it, we're critiquing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or I'm trying to sell it to you.
Pro Mod is probably the one class that has a multitude of places to race from the IHRA deal. We talk about a lot of these other classes that are now looking around and they're going to figure that out. But Pro Mod had almost gotten to a point where these guys were having to pick and choose races and not being able to commit. I think you're going to see a little bit of a reset on that now going into the end of this year and next season as well, back to probably a more healthy balance.
And I mean, I think that's, I mean, Mark, when you and I remember talking to you, it had been about 2 years ago. We were having a conversation about the number of races that were going on.
Yeah.
And this is fact. About in 2024, there were about 20 major pro mod events. Fast forward to today, and before the IHRA decided to cancel all of their events, there was 39 on the schedule. And no matter how great pro mod is right now, that's too many races. That is an unsustainable number. That's so many that none of them are going to be what they could be, right? If we were a little bit more measured in our approach. And we've seen this movie play out multiple times before. Like, I think about Radio versus the World. When Donald Long cooked up Radio versus the World, it was designed to be a once a year freak show type of situation. You go run Orska, you go run NMCA, you go run whatever you run, and then one time a year you strap radials on that thing, take the wheelie bars off, and you come together, right? But what happened? Everybody started counting Donald's money, right? This is, if we're being honest, that's what happened. Everybody started going, oh my God, this guy's making so much money, I better put on a radial race. And the next thing you know, there are 2, 3, 5, 6 entire series built around Radio versus the World, which it was never meant to be. It became untenable, right? It was just too big for its own good. And what have we seen since then? We saw it head back the other direction, right? We saw it constrict or what's retract. We saw it retract. And I think that we have to be really smart. Contract. The next year, I would argue the next month, then the next 3 months, then the next 6 months, we're going to have to be very measured as a community, as a fast door slammer community, right? Because there's a lot of homeless people right now. I mean, I don't know that anybody's situation is more dire than Mountain Motor Pro Stock, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a group of racers that essentially have no place to go right now, right? But there's also, I know guys that just spent $500,000 on an Outlaw Pro Mod car, a lightweight, no weight Pro Mod car to run IHRA that no longer have anything to do with it, right?
Same deal.
So there, and I also think about all the steel roof and quarter cars. Like, there were tons of cars being built for no prep king style events, right? That deal went away. So now we have a bunch of cars. Think about Chevy Reeves, good looking, well-spoken, clean cut kid with a badass hot rod that was going and supporting IHRA, even though he knew he was about 1/10.5 off the pace because his car's got factory quarter panels on it, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a place, there's got to be something that we do here in the coming months that goes, okay, we need to start. I mean, obviously, maybe we focus our efforts initially on Pro Mod. We got to find a house for these legal Pro Mod places. We got to find a place for them to go, right? We got to stabilize that. But there's a lot of people in this community. They're going to be looking for like a stable long-term home. And I got to tell you, yourself and the team at PDRA, Mark, you guys are extremely well positioned. I think the Midwest Drag Racing Series is extremely well positioned. I think the NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series is probably going to enjoy some participation that, you know, I think there are a lot. I think we're going to see several of these independent races. I think the shakedown at M-Town next year will be great. I think the Yellow Bullet Nationals coming up in a month or a little over a month is going to be a barn burner. There's another, you know, Fuel Alter definitely in a perilous position right now. But I do think I talked to a couple of those guys as well recently. One guy yesterday, and told him that if I were you guys, I would band together and do my own thing. But anyways, Mark, I think you guys are in a really good position. Tell me, like, you've been obviously in a prior life, you were the marketing visionary at Redline Oil, a huge supporter of ours here at Drag Illustrated, for which we're very appreciative. You've believed in every crazy idea I've cooked up for nearly 20 years. Now you have moved into a new role with the Professional Drag Racers Association. I'm just curious, like, you've landed, you just probably got both feet on the ground. Are there things that you are immediately tasked with, or immediately fired up about, or immediately passionate about putting your touch on?
Well, I think the biggest thing I am is just trying to rebuild the enthusiasm, or trying to build enthusiasm about what we're doing. You know, it's a wonderful organization, to say the least. It's a very well respected organization. You know, you talk about scheduling and things like that. I'm very proud of the fact that I know that this year and the year before and the year before that, and probably forever, you know, we work very closely with Keith Haney. What Keith has going on is wonderful. So we work really hard. We don't want to schedule anything on top of one another, right? We want it to be a positive deal. And so I think the thing that I'm going to work on the most is we're going to look at, you know, are there opportunities to do things better? Are there opportunities to do things different? There are opportunities to get fans, you know, to come to the races or whatever. I mean, every organization out there is wanting more fans in the stands. And so we've talked about a few ideas that maybe we can implement, things that we can give that a try. But, you know, Wes, it's one of those deals where you talked about it before. It's as a group, as an entire group in the motorsports and the racing industry, if we all don't change the narrative to something positive and stuff, we all lose. I mean, the negativity is heartbreaking. You know, it's like, I never met Daryl, wouldn't know Daryl if he sat down next to me. Well, that's not true, because I know what he looks like or whatever, and stuff like that. Did I understand everything he did? You know, even when I was at Redline, you know, I never jumped into that deal. I stood on the sideline. It says I kind of took a wait and see or whatever. It wasn't anything personal. It was just my responsibility at that time. So the downside, like you said, when this happens, is that it just blossoms into this horrible thing that's happening right now. And I've always loved you, Wes, and Mike and JT, because it's like, you're always enthusiastic about what's going on. And I've always tried to mirror myself after you guys. It's like, look, there's no room in this world. There's no success in this world being negative. There's no success in this world, you know, picking things apart and doing things. You know, the PDRA is a wonderful place to go race. We welcome anybody and everybody to come race with us. You know, do we have opportunities for some different categories and classes now? Yeah, we'll see. But once again, we're going to have our business hat on, right? If it does not make financial success, we can't do something because our heart says, boy, we want this or that to come race with us, and it be a loser. It's just impossible. But we want to do all that in a positive light. We especially me, because that's who I am. It's just I am so fortunate. It's such an honor to do the things that we do. I mean, think about how other ways that people have to put up with and earn a living, Wes. And look at what you and I have done our entire career. It's awesome, right? I mean, it is such an honor. And like you and I have talked before, we're not curing cancer. We're not saving babies. So let's keep this in perspective, right? Let's just go have fun.
Drag racing is something we get to do.
Exactly. And I gave that speech, you know, last year at the SEMA show. I was talking with a group of people, and it was based around social media. And you know, they were asking me what I look for in social media deal. And the only advice I gave everybody in the stands is like, or that was out there listening, is like, you got to have fun. You got to have fun when you're at the racetrack, because it shows. It's different when you see people that are absolutely miserable, you see it in their social media, or they not do social media because they're miserable. It shows in everything. So first and foremost, just go out there and have fun. Like I said, we get to do this. We choose to do this.
It's, you know, to me, I think that I tell my team all the time, and this is something I specifically believe in the world of sales, but I think it applies to life. A couple of things. First off, if I'm not excited, I can't expect anybody else to be excited. I've described this in the past as kind of like a fire that burns down. Right. You know what I mean? It's if I'm not fired up and passionate about what we're doing, I can't expect anybody else to be fired up about it. And that's, you know, multiple conversations over the course of the last several weeks with racers about everything that's going on. My enthusiasm for the World Series of Pro Mod and for what we're doing has not waned at all. And as you guys can tell today, my enthusiasm and passion and optimism for the sport of drag racing, despite all this craziness that's going on, has not waned. And I think that's really important, man. I mean, you kind of on the head with that. Like, we've got to be we've got to be, and I understand that like today, I really thought about not talking about any of this because I thought I don't want to perpetuate this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. We've seen this movie before. Does anybody benefit from it? I don't know. But I do think that if we can use this, right? If we can use this as an opportunity to learn, because I tell this to my kids. I said, the reason you read books is so that you can learn from other people's trial and tribulations. They say experience is the best teacher. It doesn't have to be your experience, right? It can be someone else's experience. And I think there's a big experience, a big experiment, let's say, that we can all learn from here, right? And as we move forward, being a little bit, I obviously there's going to be some sour grapes. But Mike and I were talking about this morning, and JT, there's going to be some sour grapes for a hot minute here. And I don't expect, and honestly, I think that it's, one of the things that I've been frustrated about is that I don't know that any other promoter, sanctioner series would be extended the grace that has been extended here. I think some of that is a little, I think it's a little artificial. You know what I'm saying? I think it's playing nice, right? And I understand that, right? There's a lot at risk right now. I'm yet to talk to a racer that's been paid from the last 2 IHRA races. So it's a really unfortunate situation. But I do think, again, we've got to start looking forward and recognize that this is a sport that has historically been able to, what's the word? Attract. Drag racing's kind of magnetic, right?
Yes, it is.
It attracts these big money guys. It attracts these, these risk takers and all this stuff. We've got to bring, and I think that's something that we could go, hey, maybe another one of these dudes or maybe a slew of these dudes come along in the future, right? And maybe if we can exercise some restraint, instead of convincing them to spend more money or convincing them to buy another thing or convincing them to buy another track or convincing them to add another class, we can say, hey, man, we need your help. And if you'll sprinkle a little lettuce on this deal over the course of the next 3, 5, 7 years, we could really do something special here. I mean, our sport is magnetic. This group of people, by and large, is magnetic. I've never brought someone to the drag strip who couldn't be, super excited to come back. Right. Yep. So the times are good. I know there's going to be a little bit of a rough, bumpy patch here. But I got to tell you, man, I think that there's a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be optimistic about. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you guys roll into Bristol, I expect to see a group of racers and fans that have a little bit of zest about them, have a little newfound pep in their step. Because one of the things that you kind of mentioned, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, and this is something that we've, faced, is maintaining enthusiasm. It's easy to be excited early on. That's what we've seen here with IHRA. I remember back to the infancy of the PDRA, and there was some similar excitement, right? Mm-hmm. It was Jason Scruggs and Tommy Franklin and Gene Hector and Roger Henson and all these guys coming together, and they're going to form their own racers for racers by racers. And there was a lot of this early optimism, but over the course of time, that it starts to fade. And it does. And it's nobody's fault, but what it is we lose perspective, and we're not as grateful. We're not expressing the gratitude that we probably should, that these things exist, right? And I think that, you guys are going to roll into Bristol. You're about to burn Thunder Valley to the ground, my friends.
Yeah, and I hope, I hope, one of the things I hope I bring to it is what you bring, Wes. I've been reading the notes on the show, people saying, hey, preach it, Russ. Hey, keep talking about it. See, you bring an enthusiasm with you everywhere you go, right? I mean, there's just something. You talk about drag racing being magnetic. Well, so are you, Wes. And so, and that's something that I value, and I hope that I can imitate or be a part of as well. As when people come to a PDRA race, I don't care if you're a spectator, if you're a vendor, if you're a racer, I want to bring that enthusiasm to the PDRA, because it's tough to maintain sometimes or whatever, but my outlook on life has always been the same. I'm just honored, and I'm just grateful, and I'm enthusiastic about everything I've ever done. And
you've been selling oil for the last several years, and you were fired up about it.
Yeah, I want to continue that, because I think that's contagious at that point in time, right? How many people are watching the show after today that heard you preach all that or whatever, that when they click off, they're not wound up, they're not excited, because it's contagious. And I think that's what you were telling everybody is like, look, we need to be positive. We need to build this deal up. Let's be the contagious people. Let's be the people that everybody wants to follow or everybody wants to listen to. And so that's one of my big goals at the PDRA. It's not even business driven. It's nothing. It's just, it's a feeling. It's a happening. It's being a part about something. I hope people can see my enthusiasm, my gratefulness, and my excitement for what we have, and let it build up and build on top of that, because truly it's just awesome. We are so friggin' lucky. It's not even funny.
Dude. I mean, I think about,
lucky.
How it wasn't that long ago that it was 8th Mile Pro Mods at Thunder Valley in Bristol. Mike can attest to this. It wasn't that long ago that was a pipe dream.
Yeah.
8th Mile Outlaw Pro Mods running at Bristol. Right.
Hello.
I mean, even to get to go to that venue, I know racers that would all but sell their soul just to say they went down that drag strip, just to say they made a run, let alone do it as part of the PDRA, right? Let alone do it alongside Melanie Salemi, right? I mean, all of these things, these stars of our sport. I think that you guys are in a really, really good spot, and I hope that there is a little bit of I don't expect anybody to eat crow. I think that our group by and large is perhaps too proud for that. But I will tell you that you guys have done an incredible thing. I talked to Tommy last Friday actually for about an hour, and Tommy and I were talking, and I told him that. I said, man, I am so appreciative of what you guys have done, because the reality is that I do not have the resources. I mean, I have the desire, but I don't have the resources to put on every pro mod race. I need the PDRA healthy. I need the NHRA healthy. I need the Midwest Drag Racing Series healthy. I hate that the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, John Mazzarana poured his heart and soul into that organization. But because of some of the things that I discussed earlier, payouts getting crazy, all these things just couldn't sustain. Right. But I'm so grateful for all these different places that people get to race, because without them, there's not a World Series of Pro Mod. Right. And I'm excited for you, Mark. I think this is a great landing place. I'm sure wanted you wearing a Drag Illustrated shirt right now, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I know we talked about that. So instead I stay neutral. I got my Steve Torrance Racing shirt on. So
don't you worry. Yeah, your time's coming. But I'm super excited for you, man. I really am.
I am too. And I think the PDRA, like you said, they're in a great spot. I think Keith Haney, Midwest, is in a great spot. Keith is going to conduct good, clean business. For a fact that Tommy, we're going to conduct good, clean business. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that everybody stays having a place to race. We'll look at the groups that are kind of on the outside, looking in right now. Who knows if there's a fit, where there's a fit, but we're not going to shrug. We're not going to shrug any of it off. We need to stay positive together, everybody, and stuff like that. So it's like, if you go to a PDRA race and you're having a tough day, you know what? Go to the tower and have them page me and have them find me and I'll come and we'll talk. If I preach to you, I'll preach to you. If we can just talk, we'll just talk. I don't care.
And I tell people sometimes, let's
just do this.
And all it takes sometimes is just being willing to listen. You know what I mean? Like exactly. A lot of these racers, I mean, and you know what? People that haven't raced struggle to understand it, but this is sport fights you every step of the way. Like there's 100,000 ways for it to go wrong. Most people have been to hell and back by the time they get to the track. Generator wouldn't start, tire blew out on the truck, wife left them. You know what I mean? Like, and by the time they get there, they're already in the black, right? Or in the red. You know what I mean? So then you have the rollout be screwed up in the left lane. You're about to have a real rough conversation in the tower, right? But if you're willing to listen, if you're willing to listen, you can make, you know what I mean? And listen. And I mean, even at our events, we've had all sorts of little calamities or whatever. And I just try to lend an ear, you know what I mean? Hear them out, do our level best to make it right. You know what I mean? Or own up to it and carry forward. Cause to your earlier point, man, we ain't curing cancer. right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going drag racing, brother. Well, Mark, I appreciate your time so much. I can't wait to see you. I'm moving my son into college, or I would be at Bristol, but I will be at the next one, and I'm going to come. We'll walk around together, and let's get this whole World Series of Pro Mod qualifier deal going.
Man, like I said, let's do it. We're on board for all of them if you want, brother.
We appreciate you, big dog.
We do anything for you. So, but thanks everybody. You know, come see us. Come see us race. Go follow us on Flow or whatever. You know, PDRA660.com for tickets and schedule. We will have a Drag Illustrated event hub that's for sale if anybody wants to sponsor it. A one-stop shop for everything that has to do with the PDRA Thunder Valley Nationals. We can't wait to see you guys roll into Bristol Dragway and burn that son of a gun to the ground. There you go. Bye, Wes. Bye, Mike. Bye, JT. Thanks, guys. You all rock it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Hey, guys, because I haven't done any of this yet, I do want to take a quick second and thank a slew of our sponsors. First and foremost, every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. 100% made in America, 100% built for racers. From drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and ballistic blankets, Stroud Safety has been the standard in racing safety equipment for decades. Tommy Cunningham and his team don't cut corners. They build gear that saves lives. If you're serious about safety, there's one call to make. Check them out at StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them I sent you. I'd also like to take a second here and acknowledge, of course, Redline Synthetic Oils. The Wes Buck Show each and every Wednesday is brought to you courtesy of Redline Synthetic Oil, formulated to win, proven by you. Since 1979, Redline has been protecting engines from 11,000 horsepower nitro motors to 50cc motorcycles and everything in between. Ty Tutterow, Steve Torrance, Callie Mills, Spencer Hyde, Scott Palmer, Tommy Franklin, champions and contenders who trust Redline to get the job done. Check out the full lineup at redlineoil.com. When you know, you know. Guys, we've got our final guest of the day in the green room, fresh off a little over, a week, almost 2 weeks removed from an absolutely kick-ass performance at the basically all new West Texas Abilene Raceway. Let's give it up. The winner of Freedom of War, $75,000 to win, no prep, the one and only Chase Womack.
Hey, thanks, Wes.
What's up, big dog?
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you having me on the show, dude.
Oh, no, we appreciate you coming, man. I got to ask you, dude, watching you guys race, there's a couple of things that I specifically want to talk about. I'll get to the salty stuff in a second, the stuff that'll be fun. But first and foremost, like, were you at all surprised just to see one of these big money no prep races pop back up? Because it kind of felt like a lot of this stuff was going the way of the dodo.
It really did, dude. You know, we've been for the last, 5-6 years, it's the racing industry has really been declining. I think Matt had a $30,000 no prep race like 3, 4, 5 months ago. But really before that, dude, the no prep stuff's really been falling off.
It's sad, right? I mean, because it felt like it, and I mean, we've seen this movie before, right? Like, it gets big, but then it quickly becomes oversaturated, right? There's so many races, you can't go to them all, right? The Chase Womacks can't run every weekend, every weekend all year long, right? So racers are forced with starting to pick and choose where they're going to go and whatnot, and all of the events start to suffer. And we kind of are seeing a correction, but I will tell you, man, it seems like Matt Tucker, the guys at Abilene Raceway, like, there's a desire to bring this back. And I'm here for it, man. I'm hesitant, right? Because you don't want to see, we can't have 100 of these events. You know what I mean? But if we can create a handful, a smattering of circle on the calendar, I'm never going to miss Freedom of War or whatever, that's good for drag racing. And I mean, I don't know about you, man, but I was fired up. What'd they have? Almost 50 cars there in small tire. I mean, off the trailer, fresh concrete. What a deal.
Oh, yeah.
We're losing him.
I lost you there at the end, Wes.
Oh,
it was definitely off the trailer, bare concrete. It's completely different than really anybody else in no prep racing is doing right now. It's at West Texas Abilene. It's a step further than no prep. I mean, there's literally no rubber. I'm sure you saw pictures of the track before the deal got started.
It was for me.
Wild.
Watching the first round, and I got to give it up to our boy, what's his name, Tickle Fitz. I watched his live stream like the whole time. But watching that first round when there was no rubber on the track, I mean, how do you wrap your head around that I mean, that's like dropping the bomb on that screw-blown Hemi in your driveway, right? Like, how do you wrap your head around, or do you just know that it's not going to make it? And like, how do you even approach a surface like that?
So I went to one of his races. It's been about 3 or 4 months ago. I don't remember what they called it, but we went over there first round and we got our teeth kicked in. We weren't prepared. We thought the car would go a lot faster than it would, and we went over there and found out that it just was not going to work. So after that deal, me and Matt had spoke. I knew he was going to put on a big race, and for the last 3 months, dude, we've been eating, sleeping, and living. How do we make this car go down this surface? So honestly, first round, I wouldn't say we were nervous or we didn't think it was going to work. We really went into first round with a lot of confidence, knowing that we were going to make a pass.
No shit, because I would have been scared to death, right? I mean,
dude, I'll be honest, we took that car to places that probably most people won't take a Hemi, screw-blown Hemi down, and we went there, and that's where we tested.
I mean, I guess that's what it takes, man. I mean, I don't know how else you would do it. And then I felt like after that first round, really once it was like down to the third round, there still was no track there, but it was starting to have something that you could make some sort of a run. So is that, I mean, obviously you're making wholesale chassis changes, weight, rear suspension, front suspension's probably as loose as you can get it, I suppose. You've got all the timing out of this thing you can possibly get out of it where it'll still run. Is that?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Every single round, it's constant strut adjustments. It's constantly we're jerking weight out of the car. Oh, we're putting a little weight back in the car. It's a ton of work between rounds to make that car work there for sure.
It was impressive, man. And I was going to get to this, but it kind of was what's the word? Polarizing or kind of explosive on social media, but someone, I don't know who it was. And I'm anti-wing, but man, I sure like to see a car win that deal that didn't have a Top Fuel wing on the back of it. What's your kind of take on how this whole deal, like I'm all for some of the like no front end. I get it. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, I don't think I'd ever put my shit in the beams without a front end on it. You know, I just don't know that I could do it. But then I thought, but if you also know that you're going to probably knock the front end off of it, you know, maybe, you know what I mean? Like if you know without a shadow of a doubt, there's a good chance you're going to get into the wall. Maybe it makes sense. But what do you make of that? Like, because we've kind of seen this Frankenstein deal arrive in the, what do they call it? Back of the track or backside, no prep stuff and street racing, obviously. But you guys are obviously running a car that's got a traditional pro stock style deck lid spoiler on it. We are. And I won't really weigh in on the wings a whole lot, Wes.
I mean, I know exactly what they do. I've never had a car that's had one and never really been around it. As far as the front end stuff goes, you know, we ran our car first round without a front end, but it didn't have anything to do with, you know, oh, we may hurt the front end. It was all about the weight bias for us. At that deal, weight bias was extremely important, and we had our bias exactly where we wanted it, and we put the front end on. It changed the bias a little bit, so we jerked it back off. So,
that's awesome. Now that
I know you wouldn't think 30 pounds does that much, but you know, it did. So
I'm here for that, man. So what, I mean, I guess as you guys move forward, you've got a lot of momentum right now, 5 rounds of racing, park that hot rod in the winner's circle. But what's next for you guys? Where else does Chase Womack go drag racing over the course of the next few months?
Yeah, I think we're gonna go up to Tulsa. They've got a race up there. They're giving away a Wally. I don't think it's paying a ton of money, but we're going to go try it. We're going to do Ala Armageddon. You know, we went there last year. We did really well. So we're going to go back and do that. But honestly, dude, we're focused on Matt's next big race. So
November.
Yes.
I don't blame you, man. It's exciting times. I tell you what, there's a lot of people, the allure of that old NHRA Wally, that old girl's still got a lot of shine on her. You know what I mean? Like being able to go win a race where you're going to get to race for a Wally. I think that's a big reminder for a lot of promoters out here, because as good as the money is, I mean, I think the reality is Chase, you had that $75,000 spent before you got the car in the trailer.
I did. Yeah, you're right. Hey, if any of us are doing it for the money, then I don't know. We need a lesson in business. It's definitely not for the money. We all do it because we love it. And if you're doing it for anything else, then I really don't know what the hell you're doing.
You're 100% correct, man. I mean, it's fun to talk about, right? And it's cool to get the big check and hang it on the wall. But I would argue that that's more important than the money itself. You know what I mean? It's those memories. It's creating that experience. Like, one of my favorite parts of you winning the deal was just the winner's circle. Is that your daughter that was holding the money? Okay. Like,
it is.
Just seeing you get to have that moment.
For sure.
Like, that is, to me, and obviously I don't even know your daughter. I was assuming, I was like, that's got to be Chase's kid. But it's like,
for sure.
that you're going to frame that. You're going to have, that's a forever memory.
Oh, 100%. Dude, my wife goes to every event with me. I've got a 17-year-old and a 9-year-old. They all go. I really don't race without them. So it's a family sport, and we all love it.
Now, I absolutely love it, man. I couldn't be happier for you. And I'm really fired up for this November event. What do you make of what Matt's doing? Where are you actually based out of, Chase? I'm
based out of Midland.
Okay, you're in Midland, Odessa area.
So I'm like 2 hours from Matt's track.
Oh, you can't beat that, man.
You can't.
I'm excited to see that place, like, because it obviously Texas has a lot of drag strips and there's some great ones here, but like, for there to be another name in the conversation, I think is really, really positive.
It is, dude. And he's onto something. You know, the way he preps the track, Wes, you don't need a screw blown Hemi to go to that track. And, you know, me and Matt, some guys, we were on live talking about it last night. It's just something totally different, dude. It's really a place where your LS can still go and win. And those guys are still very competitive there, you know? So trust me, I know we went and won with the Hemi and everybody's going, oh, well, the screw blown Hemi still won. We didn't win because we had a screw blown Hemi. We won because of our crew and our tuner. I mean, dude, my tuner, shout out to Jack Roberts. Jack
Drag Illustrated 30 under 32
That's right.
member.
That's right. He's a bad dude. I mean, first and second place cars were both his. I own the Hammerhead Corvette also, but Jack was tuning on that car too. And honestly, that car just been sitting in shop for like 2 years, maybe a year and a half. Anyway, it's not been out in forever. And we knew this race was coming up. We talked about it. We thought, man, we think the car can compete. So let's drag it out and go racing. And paid off, I guess.
Don't you think that that's like an important thing, that a guy with like a Fox body and a twin turbo LS could even go line up against you and have a shot? Like, to me, that's the magic of no prep. Like, that's what it's for. Like, that brand of drag racing exists to level the playing field, and it isn't about who's got the new 4,000 horsepower Brad 7 stuff or whatever, right? I mean, it's the guy that can make it go down that track. And
That's right.
That to me looked like one of the hardest things there could possibly be to do in drag racing.
Right. No, it was. It was all about the team that figured it out the fastest, you know.
100%, man. Well, we couldn't be happier for you, Chase. I'm excited to get to know you better, and I hope we get to spend some more time together. Congratulations, dude. The best to you and your family, your team. Jack Roberts, we were really proud. We got another story coming out about Jack pretty quick, because we were really proud to see him tuning both the cars in the final.
Sure. He deserves every bit of it.
We've believed in him for a hot minute, man. And I'm going to be there in November. So I'm looking forward to coming out and hanging out with you guys at the next West Texas Abilene No Prep Shootout, brother. We appreciate you, man. We'll see you soon.
Hey, that's awesome. Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Chase. Talk soon.
Yes, sir. Bye.
All right, guys, let me take a quick second and do one more script read, and we'll bring Mike and JT on here and wrap this thing up. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Strange Engineering. You talk about another guy who is an unsung hero of the sport of drag racing, Jeff Stange and his team at Strange Engineering. For more than 50 years, Strange has been a household name amongst racers and crew chiefs for creating hardcore racing and performance street driveline and suspension components that flat out get the job done. Rear ends, axles, brakes, struts, and shocks. If it's under the car and it matters, Strange has you covered. Don't just race Strange. Learn more at strangeengineering.net. JT, Mike, it felt like I was going, and now I was worried we weren't even going to get the guests on, and I'm like, okay, we got down.
Man, a lot of that stuff just needed to be said, you know, to be honest with you. You know, and there's a lot of people, there's some racers that probably that needed to hear that you're going to have to move on. You know, like I get you want it to come back next year, but you know, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't look like the restructuring. You know, I think some people just needed to hear that.
Well, it's
really. I mean,
like,
if you're going to sit around too long, and then 2027 is going to be here, and oh shit,
dude, it's
we're race again.
15th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and there is no off season. I mean, it's already,
there is no off season anymore. Yeah.
We're gearing up for the winter. We're gearing up for next year, and you got to start looking forward to what you're doing next year. I mean, maybe take this time to regroup, get your program really healthy, and then come out strong next year. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely is something that I think that can be applied positively as far as just going ahead, turning the page, and moving forward.
And you know what? Maybe rolling into your next drag racing event going, you know what, man, I'm really glad we've got the opportunity to do this, right? Yep. Because I know there's a whole lot of people that were, literally 10 days ago saying, oh man, there's more races than I can go to, and I'm burnt out. If I had $1 for every conversation that I had with a drag racer in recent weeks that centered around being burnt out. But now I'm talking to people that are going, man, I don't know what we're going to do for the next few months. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
specifically in Pro Mod, we talked about this, Wes. It went from, man, when are you guys going to do more races? When are you going to do more races? When are you going to do a winter series? When are you going to do 3 races? When are you going to do 6? When are you going to do 8? To there's too many races. We don't know. We can't. This is crazy. We can't do this. It's too much. It's too expensive. Costs too much to race, especially in Pro Mod. So, like I said, maybe a healthy reset.
I think that sometimes our sport, I remember a long time ago talking to Jason Scruggs about this, but like every once in a while, someone has to be willing to like reach up to the cassette deck and hit rewind, right? Like we're going to run it back a little bit because I mean, even the problem with the IHRA, like trying to move forward in 2027 is that there's no way you can follow what has just like the reset that would be required would create all the problems that these guys and gals were complaining about elsewhere, right? It would be just, it would be like, okay, if they're going to restart this thing and make it fiscally responsible for itself and cut the purses and alter the entry fees and reduce the amount of pomp and circumstance and do away with the catered meals and this and that and all these things, well, then you're right back.
Just another drag race.
It's just another drag race, right? So, like, how do you differentiate yourself in the market when you take all that stuff away? I think it's a really interesting thing, man. And like I said, I hate the way this whole thing has worked out, and I hate it. Perhaps, I mean, who I hate it for the most is the racers, right? And I think that there's some real concern about the racetracks, right? I mean, there are nearly a dozen racetracks that are.
That's probably the one thing that we probably need to be concerned about the most at the time. I mean,
there's a lot of racers that are going to, there's a lot of racers that are going to spend a lot of money to go support these events that are not going to get paid. And I think that is a unforgivable sin. In my book, that's an unforgivable sin. And then secondarily, these tracks, that's going to be interesting. I will say, I think that some of these tracks, I think that there's a lot of, buying everything. I don't know how true all of those things. I think there's varying different definitions of ownership, right? So I think that some of these places will probably land on their feet, either return to previous ownership or what have you. But there are some tracks like Piedmont Dragway I'm genuinely concerned about. I think that's probably
be the biggest tragedy out of all of it so far. You take something like Memphis, Topeka, those were not operating anyway. It's like nothing
Atlanta,
gained, nothing lost, right? We're back to even on those. No harm done. But Piedmont Dragway, a thriving facility with a thriving weekly program, big dog shootout, you name it. And then now
I'm telling you right now,
it's been turned into a dirt track. And so that's really
I don't know, dude. Without Big Dog, Mike, we wouldn't be here right now. Big Dog, in many ways, watching those VHS tapes that Scott Caudill made. Isn't that how you say his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Caudill, I used to buy these VHS tapes and sit in my parents' living room.
He was the man. Watch. Shout out to Scott. He was the only way you saw those events. Quick 8 Pro Mod, a lot of the early ADRL stuff. Him and Sean Melton from Urban Hillbilly. A lot of that, shout out to those guys. Haven't mentioned those names in a long time.
I remember sitting in my parents' bedroom or living room, sitting cross-legged in the floor, watching. One of my favorite ones to watch was when Troy Coughlin, and it was the North versus South deal. They had Troy Coughlin, a bunch of NMCA and SCA guys came down to run. Pat Musey went, and Mark D'Antoni had his Willies, Tutterow. And I mean, that was back when I think Todd was driving that Olds Cutlass, just as God intended, with a nitrous small block in it. You know what I mean? And it was like, that was to me, like in many ways, that is what really deepened my love and fandom for pro mod style drag racing, because where I grew up in the Midwest, pro mod wasn't really a thing. Like there was, you never saw, I mean, you'd see pro mod like really once a year. And it was normally as the IHRA tour was headed to what? Scribner, Nebraska? On your guys' way, the IHRA National Event Tour, you guys, I think, were headed to Scribner or somewhere, and they would the week
I have
before.
Never heard of Scribner, Nebraska.
Scribner, Nebraska. It was, I think, where would you guys have been going?
Maybe that was in the earlier days.
Yeah, like in the early 90s, right? Like 93, 4. You guys, they would always do a pro mod shootout at Eddyville Raceway Park in Iowa, 10,000 to win. This is in 1993 or 4. They would do a pro mod shootout the week before, I think it was. And everybody get the test, you know what I mean? And Scotty Cannon would be there. You know, Harold Martin, Chuck Peterson, Jason Peterson, Charles Carpenter, everybody was there. And like, that was when I first saw pro mod, like with my own eyes. But like the way I fell in love with it really was Don Plemons Quick 8, Rod Hawk, what's the Carolina Hooker car,
Regenthal,
Buzz Varner, I mean
Dale Brinsfield, Randy Weatherford. Randy's an OG at this point, man.
He is an OG.
Who drove the Death Dealer car?
Thomas Dunford.
Dunford.
He died in an on-track accident in a top dragster, I believe, at Budds Creek. What, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that.
That car was, I love that car. You know what I mean? And anyways, that's probably to me right now, like one of the biggest tragedies is that was, you know, Big Dog's been going on the first Thursday night of every month for like what, 30 years?
Something like that.
You know,
but that's going to be one. And then there's facilities even like Galad or, you know, some of these operational tracks. They're very nice. You know, what's going to happen with those? Like we could see something unfortunate happen with that, which, you know, we're not speculating in any way, but I think there's a big difference between the tracks that were thriving and operating and the ones that were like a reclamation project, which I was very happy about. You hear about these facilities that were gone by the wayside and that he's going to revive. A lot of optimism for that. And so, but you have to look at that like, okay, well, we didn't get anywhere with that, but we didn't lose anything. We lose Piedmont, we lose some of these other facilities. That's going to be really bad. Dragway 42, Empire Dragway. I mean, some of these other ones that are under that umbrella, you know, we've got to wait and see what's going to happen with those. And also while we're on the nostalgia kick, shout out to Devin Smith, drag racing media of the past. Go check him out on YouTube. Go check him out on Facebook. This guy, young, I think he's a young guy. I think he's in his 20s or something, has bought all these old VHSs from Scott, from a lot of these other, you know, guys that were shooting, especially down like the Alabama deep South area, a lot of the Sunoco shootout stuff, Super Chevy stuff. And he's like remastering these and putting them on YouTube. So go check out his YouTube page. And like even like cleaner copies of some of the older stuff that you've maybe seen in the past. So he's got a hell of an archive up there. He posts several times a week, a new video, but go support his page, man. He's a young kid trying to grow that deal. And I love
I just found it. Dude, they got 58,000 followers.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I've seen some of this stuff. Yeah, dude. Right here. Jeff Enslin, Pete Williams at Southeastern Dragway in Dallas, Georgia in 1994. A Beretta versus ZR1 rolling through the water box. This is sick. Okay. I love it, man. It's wild times we're living in, Michael.
JT left?
Yeah, JT must have just bailed.
Damn, JT.
Probably. Is it men's league tonight? No, I don't think so. Damn, man, they used to do real burnouts back then too. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, it's like he's got a ton of quick 8 stuff on there too, man. Miss those days big time.
Bro, wild times, man. Wild times. I got to tell you, and we'll kind of wrap things up today. I appreciate everybody bearing with me while I rant and rave. And I really do.
Dude, it's well received, man. I'm sure your phone's blowing up. Mine's blowing up with feedback from today. And I know we talked about and debated on whether we were going to address it or not, but I feel good about it. And I think it was handled well and stuff that needed to be said.
Yeah, man. It's I'll tell you one thing is a reminder to everybody and I've seen a little bit of this, and drag racing isn't a good place. And I think the people that would think otherwise aren't paying attention and are shortchanging the determination of this group of people. Remember, drag racers are the people that will drive 1,000 miles through 100% chance of rain to pay money to race their car. Right? I can't tell you how many times I've left my house well knowing we're going to get rained out, but we're going anyway. Right? That's the definition of this group of people. We know it's going to be 115. We know we're going to sweat through our socks. We know the track's going to be bad. We know whatever the case may be, we go anyway. Right? That's what this group of people does. And for anybody that likes to naysay or say that this marks the end or that this is going to be some sort of tragedy, it's going to hurt. And it's going to hurt some people. And I think it's going to hurt some racers really bad. And it's sad. It's very sad. But our sport will prevail. Drag racing will continue. Drag racing will prevail. And I can't wait to continue talking about it each and every Wednesday right here on the Wes Buck Show. We appreciate you guys. Sorry we missed you the last couple of weeks, but we back, boys. And what do we got next? I mean, we're next for us is, obviously we got Brett just landed in Sonoma. We got Brett Underwood and AJ Bolander on the property at Sonoma for the NHRA Sonoma Nationals. Excited about that. Should be a fantastic race, man. We've also got Midwest Drag Racing Series rolling into US 131, PDRA headed to Bristol. Lots of great stuff going on. Yellow Bullet Nationals kind of on the horizon, coming up quickly. Of course, the NHRA US Nationals. Tons of great stuff happening in the sport, man. And I'm excited to see what happens next. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Thank y'all.